Welcome to the PAWSCAST, and now here are our hosts, Mandy V and Tajay B.
Hi, everybody. Today we're joined with Emily Cerda, who works with Thrive Inside Nutrition. She is a licensed nutritionist. And I'm Dr. Amanda Vanderveer.
I'm Tajay Bolton, and today we're going to be talking about nutrition.
So, Emily, knowing how college students are, and we both have experience, you also have experience being a college student, we tend to recognize that college students don't always make the best nutritional choices that they could. I myself remember the living off the ramen noodles. So how do these choices affect our ability to learn if we're not making good nutritional choices?
Yeah, I remember some ramen noodle days myself. So I think that it's so common to get really busy and just really goal focused in your day that you don't stop to feel how your body feels, and maybe what your body is asking for, what it needs. So for a busy college student, I mean, you're running to classes, you're learning all you can, there's a high demand on your focus. Um, if you're an athlete or playing the band or anything like that, then you have practices. It's really ongoing, and I recall homework well into the night. So it's a long day, a short night, and we know that sleep is very important. All of this is affected by what we eat, because the food that we eat is really the information that is going to help our body to perform the best it can. So when we think about even something as simple as eating protein, the protein that we eat breaks down into amino acids, and those amino acids, they're not only great for like muscle building and stuff like that for the athletes, but they also break down and help to make our neurotransmitters, which are important if we're trying to learn or stabilize our mood or focus in those classes. So I think it's really overlooked how important the food choices we make, how they really are, especially for college kids.
So, what are some things that college students can do to improve their nutrition?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because you guys are busy, like I said. I think, drinking water is something that I always go back to, because there's a lot of like kind of designer drinks out there, different drinks that taste really great. But coming back to water, it's what our body is made from. It's what we need for so many of our metabolic processes. And sometimes there's actually been studies showing that if you deprive people of water, they get really, really sleepy. Like kids in classes get really, really sleepy and their focus goes downhill. So that's a big one. I'm going to say eat breakfast also. And I know that a portion of your population is going to laugh at me because they don't have the early classes. That's okay. Whenever you get up, just count that breakfast, and get some good food into your body. Again, it's that protein for the neurotransmitters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're coming up on summer right now. Everybody's starting to think about hot bod summer, or hot girl summer, whatever. So what are the best diets to lose weight?
Yeah. It's such a loaded question, right? Um, so there isn't one. And that's also might be wildly unpopular, but none of us are the same. So there's this thing called bioindividuality, and it means that you could eat an apple and I could eat an apple, and metabolically, that apple could act differently in your body than it does in mine. So because of that, there's no one size fits all plan. Also, we all have our own individual genetics that we're learning affects uh, our body size tremendously. We all have a different medical history. Some of us struggle with a little more than others. All of that affects the metabolism, our physiology, our biochemistry. And really, when I think of the word diet in our culture, it means restriction, right? Even if you're like on keto for whatever, it means you're restricting something to be on that diet. So there are countless studies that show that restriction does not lead to long-term weight loss. In fact, it usually leads to weight gain over time, because anything lost in the acute phase will be gained back and then some over time. So I think it's not a question I can really answer, but I would challenge you to think about reframing the word diet and thinking about it in terms of what we would feed a human in a zoo. You know, if we think about the elephant in the zoo and what's the elephant's diet, we're not thinking about restricting the elephant or what the elephant weighs or anything like that. We're talking about giving it the food that's going to nourish it the best so that it can be the healthiest elephant it can be. So that would be my answer, is whatever that diet per se would nourish you the best. And that could be different for you than it could be for me. So it's very complex.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good answer, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you should go vegan or you should go and do the keto and stuff like that. And it's really not healthy for certain people depending on their health conditions. So I think there's always that recommendation, like you should talk to your doctor or a nutritionist over this. Like that's really important to do. So yeah.
It's really important, and to feel how your body feels. So if, you know, you and a friend decide not to eat grains, your friend might thrive and you might feel like your energy might just tank. That's your body sending you a really big signal and you need to tune in.
Yeah. So what about when you go into those um, sports stores or those fitness stores and they have all those powders and those slim bags and the hydroxy cuts? Like, are those healthy for you as well? Because they're like very popularized with or commercialized for consumption.
Yeah, so I don't think, I mean, it depends on what it is. There are some protein powders that I've used, and I would suggest everybody to flip the label around and look and see what is actually in what they're taking. If there are a whole bunch of words there that you do not understand, or if the label is, you know, miles long, it's really not going to be a great thing for your body, because your body doesn't recognize those substances. And that means that it can't do anything with those substances. I think that a lot of times I see people go to these because they're quick, they're kind of grab and go, they kind of cut that hunger feeling, and maybe there's a promise of, you know, like you said, getting cut or you know, something like that, some body image promise associated with it. But I see these leading to a lot of disordered eating patterns in my clients, where they will use them as a meal replacement instead of as something like potentially like a snack in between, if it were kind of a cleaner version of some of those protein powders. So I think it's a slippery slope. Always ask yourself, is this nourishing me, or is this just, I'm using it because it's just inconvenient to eat right now and I need the edge taken off my hunger?
That makes sense. So there's a lot of talk about the different diet styles, and also talking about like vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian lifestyles. Can you eat that and be healthy? And are these types of diets something that can be led by a college student on their budget?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know, as we said before, everybody is different. And so I know some people can thrive on a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet, and some people really feel they need some animal protein to really feel nourished and energized. And that it is just a bio-individual thing. I think that all of these can be nourishing. And I'm using the word nourishing because we keep using the word healthy, and it's worth it to really stop and think about, what does healthy mean? right? It's kind of a loaded question, like diet. What does diet mean? So I'm going to use the term nourishing, and all of these can be nourishing, but you really have to pay attention to eating a real food diet when you're eating in any of these manners. So I use the example of a gluten-free diet. Some people with celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity really need to eat gluten-free. And that's great, but you could go into the grocery store and go right down that gluten-free aisle and pick this box and that box, and there you are, you're loaded up. It's pretty expensive, but that's not going to be nourishing because everything you've got is in a box. It's the convenient food that is the gluten-free. And I'm not going to say convenience isn't great sometimes, but you could do the same thing with vegan. Just because it says vegan on the box doesn't mean that it's necessarily nourishing to your body. So I think that if you choose to make a diet shift and you want to go vegetarian or vegan, especially, meeting with somebody and really learning about how to put together a plate so that you know you're getting all of those macronutrients and also the micronutrients, all of the vitamins and minerals that your body needs, and you're not missing anything really big.
I know for me, I tried to be vegan for a hot 3 weeks. And at the end of the 3 weeks, I was just like, I feel like I'm dying. So,
Yeah.
but then learning about my genetics and what roles they play in the foods that I eat, that was really enlightening for me. Like, oh, well, now I know why I feel like, why I felt like I was dying, because I kind of was, because it was all poison to me. It wasn't healthy for me. So I think you're totally right with the considering the whole person and what you have going on, and having that feedback. If someone would have been there to help me and say, hey Mandy, this is probably not a good idea for you, maybe we can try these other options, it would have gone better, I think.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize when you go vegan, a lot of people do this for ethical reasons, which is totally commendable. But when you go vegan, you no longer have vitamin B12 in your diet at all because that comes from animal products. So if you're avoiding all animal products, you really have to supplement with a quality vitamin B12. So, it's very common for teenagers, college students, even young adults to kind of jump on the ethics and say, oh, I want to be vegan, which is great, but they just go ahead and do it. And without having that knowledge, they're missing a major, major nutrient that has some pretty big implications in the body.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that when you went vegan, you would have to replace other vitamins or things that you weren't getting from animal products. I did not know that at all.
Yeah.
So speaking of food, I feel like a lot of times what deters people from eating healthy is pricing because it's expensive. It's so much more convenient, as you said before, to get a $6 to $8 meal at McDonald's versus getting one pack of strawberries for $6 to $8. So why is eating healthy so expensive?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mean, I almost want to flip that and say, why is eating less nutrient dense food so cheap? Right? Um, it kind of keeps us there and has us not having the energy we need and staying a little fatigued, and why is that? So I think about buying whole foods, and it can be expensive, especially if either you don't have the time to prepare it or you don't have the means to prepare it. So rice and beans, really, really common through many traditional cultures in the world. Very, very cheap, especially if you're buying dry beans. That's a complete protein. There's so many things you could just add to that, and you can eat very, very cheap on rice and beans. But do college students have the means to buy rice and beans and kind of a veg here and there to go with it? Probably not. So I think that a lot of the cheaper food is really catered to our grab and go society where we're so busy. And like I said, we're not tapped into how our body feels and we're just go, go, go. And it's not even about enjoying the food. I mean, I don't know anybody who sits down at their $6 to $8 McDonald's meal and really like slowly eats it and savors it. Um, I don't think I've ever seen that. So it actually doesn't sound that great to me, but we do that like when we sit down with our families and we really savor the meal and we enjoy the meal and we have conversation over it. So thinking about cost in terms of the experience and also in terms of, you know, we're paying for that nourishment now. And if we don't have that nourishment, our body has all of these ways physiologically to kind of keep us in balance for a while. But, you know, you're not getting enough calcium, so your body might pull some from your bones to make the calcium for this process to work. And that only works so long before you have a health condition. And you have brittle bones or you have, you know, whatever it may be. So you can also think of it in terms of paying for that nourishment up front. And frankly, feeling satisfied with the meal for a little bit longer than how hungry we get kind of immediately after we eat something at McDonald's or fast food, versus paying our medical bills or for medication later in our life.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned, like, can college students, are they able to prepare the food and stuff? So what are some easy ways for college students to be able to prepare healthy meals in their dorm or their apartment?
Yeah, so I haven't been in the residence halls at Frostburg, so you guys will have to correct me here. But when I was in school, there was a shared kitchen area it was just like on the first floor of each residence hall, and it was small. There might have been a fridge, but it was like a community fridge. You better mark your stuff if you're putting your stuff in that fridge. Uh, there's like a half stove, things like that. There was a microwave. I do recall microwave popcorn is was my thing.
Mhm.
Um, so there are those kitchen areas where if you have access to pots and pans, or if the kitchen area will let you borrow some, you could prepare something small there. Microwaves, you know, if you're going out to the grocery store, there's so many frozen foods now that are in kind of those steamable packets. You can get brown rice, you can get vegetable, like all different kinds of vegetables, not just the classic mixed vegetables. Um, I think they even have pastas with seasoning on them and stuff like that that you just throw in the microwave, and in a couple minutes you have it heated up there, ready to go. So those are good if you're eating it right away and you don't, you know, you're kind of coming home from the store and you don't need to store it in the freezer. Um, Otherwise, you know, I think about mini fridge. I assume the mini fridge is still a big thing.
Mhm.
Um, I had a slow cooker in my room when I was in school, and I was famous for buying some like beef chunks and some various vegetables and throwing some broth in that and just leaving it while I went off to class. And everybody in the hall would get really mad because I'd smell it all day. Um, so there's that. But there's also room temperature foods that you can get. I mean, fruits, some veggies, like things that you can kind of grab that are healthier choices. And we know that charcuterie boards are super popular right now. Uh-huh. So if you think about everything that's on a charcuterie board, it pretty much could come from a mini fridge or something that's room temperature. And there's nothing to say that you couldn't get together with some friends and say, hey, you're in charge of the fruit and I'm going to do the dip and, you know, like kind of crowdsource it and bring it all together.
It's a great idea.
So what are some steps now for maybe some college students who may not know how to get into healthy eating that they can do to just get a head start or start living that lifestyle?
Yeah. So as you start to shift, I think that I would say lean toward the fruits and vegetables a little bit more. And I think that goes for even all of us who know I could eat more fruits and vegetables in my life too. So in general, when you think about making your plate, everybody kind of has this plate, which is like a built-in pie graph, right, of what we're eating for a meal. And so if you make half of your plate fruits and vegetables, that is an amazing start. It leaves the other half for the grains and the protein source. Uh, and that's a wonderful way to start eating, just in a very balanced way. Definitely try to go for variety. I know some people are like, well, I only like this type of vegetable or that type of vegetable. And I know, especially like if you're on the dining plan or something like that, you don't have a lot of choice in how that's made. Like you might like that vegetable, but you might not like it cooked that way. So trying to find different variation as much as you can is really going to help your body, because you're getting different nutrients from all the different types of foods. But other than that, I would say just start to listen to your body. Start to realize that you are that busy. And because you are that busy, you're kind of ignoring what your body's saying to you. And so take a minute here and there, or set a reminder on your phone if you need the reminder to remember to drink your water, or whatever reminder you may need. But just really stop every now and then, take a breath, and listen to your body, because it's going to be telling you a lot as you try to move into healthier eating.
So I have a question because I'm one of those people who prefer vegetables over fruit. So I eat more vegetables and fruit. Am I missing something by not eating any fruits, or am I doing okay because I'm replacing my fruit with more vegetables?
Yeah, I think you're doing okay. I think that if you like never ate fruit, then it would be interesting to try to get some here and there, because different foods have different nutrients in them. But a lot of fruit is really high in vitamin C. And if you're eating like bell peppers, red or yellow or orange, all those colored bell peppers, tons of vitamin C. So there's a lot of crossover there. And as long as you're eating the whole veggie, and you're getting the fiber that you would also be getting if you were eating the whole fruit. So I think it's either way. You're doing well.
I'm in good hands. Good.
So, what type of resources are available to the community for helping them with nutrition?
Yeah, so there is a great resource online called Path to Help. And so it's path, the number two, help.com. And this is really county-wide here in Allegheny County. You can go in and it asks you for your zip code, so you can specify Frostburg in that way. But there are links to the food banks. They have meal delivery options. So, because I know transportation is an issue for a number of students. So there is meal delivery. There's meal delivery available. And I'm not talking fast food. I'm talking like home cooked meal delivery. There is through UPMC, the hospital, they do some free nutrition education. So you can go and learn about heart health, and they have a number of workshops up there for free. So again, the transportation, we're covered. That would be a wonderful thing to do. They also have links for emergency food. So if you're really like cannot afford it, need food, there are some great links on there that the people can help you out. Again, like food banks and other places like that. And for those in the community who qualify for like WIC, the Women, Infants, and Children, or who get SNAP benefits for food affordability, all of that information is on this pathtohelp.com.
So what kind of resources do you think are available for students and Frostburg students in particular, other than some of the things that you mentioned before?
Yeah, so I mean, there is a campus food bank for you guys. And I know that there are food banks in the community in Frostburg. And I believe your dining hall also can take requests, like if there's a special dietary need, or if there's a religious need. I don't know if you have anybody fasting for Ramadan right now, but I have a number of clients who are, and definite dietary considerations to take into there. So your dining hall can help with those. And then also I would say that Path to Help, it's not only for community members, there are a number of those resources that are available to students as well. So I would check out those links.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any topics you can think of that we missed and you would like to touch on?
The only thing I can think of is, mental health is such a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal anyway, but with coming out of COVID, hopefully we're coming out of COVID, mental health has been a really big deal in my practice. And I know a lot of teens, a lot of college students can struggle. And I think that it's not well known that nutrition it has a direct effect on mental health. So again, if you're not meeting those nutritional needs that your body has, if you're not getting fully nourished, if you're missing a major nutrient here or there, it can really add up and it can take a toll on your mood. And it kind of turns into this vicious cycle where you feel kind of bad or you feel kind of down, and then you don't feel like eating, and then it gets worse. And so I think having it in the back of our minds that nutrition does play a huge role in mental health is just good information to have in case we start to feel any of that or notice our friends struggling alongside us.
So we want to take a minute and thank you for your time and for sharing some of your knowledge today. We really appreciate it. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that Emily also does her own podcasts, and you can find them on her website, which we will also put in the resources, but Thrive Inside Nutrition. So please check that out. And make sure that you check out all our other resources. We'll put up the information that Emily suggested and some other resources for you. And also consider checking out our other PAWSCAST too. So thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being a part of our PAWSCAST. This Health and Wellness podcast is brought to you by the Prevention Center and Peer Education Network at Frostburg State University. If you would like more information about our programs, visit us in Pullen Hall 109 or call us at 301-687-4761. Or you could also send us an email at safeoffice@frostburg.edu.